fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The weight of the armor was a constant, crushing reminder. It was more than just metal and intricate engravings. It was a prison, a gilded cage that held me captive. "You have no idea how long I've been stuck in this armor for," I rasped, the words catching in my throat like shards of glass. Silence. It was the silence I'd become accustomed to, the silence that was both my torment and my solace. For decades, perhaps centuries, I had been the silent guardian, the ever-present sentinel, the Knight of Ethelgard, a legend whispered in hushed tones, a protector seen but never known. Until she came. Ilara, her name, a melody on the wind, reached me even through the muffled confines of my helmet. She was the newly appointed royal archivist, tasked with cataloging the castle's vast, forgotten libraries. I'd seen dozens of archivists come and go over the centuries, each filled with wonder at the libraries, only to retreat to the capital after a few years. Ilara was different. She was drawn to the oldest, dustiest tomes, the ones filled with forbidden knowledge and forgotten languages. I watched her from my post in the great hall, my visor reflecting the flickering candlelight as she moved through the labyrinthine shelves. There was a light about her, an unyielding curiosity that mirrored my own, the curiosity I'd been forced to suppress for so long. Our first real interaction was unintentional. A rogue stone had come loose from the ceiling, crashing down near her as she stood reading. Instinct, a primal urge I thought long dormant, propelled me forward. The armor was cumbersome, its weight amplified by the urgency in my soul, but I moved swiftly, intercepting the falling debris with my shield. "Are you all right?" My voice, distorted by the helm, echoed in the hall. It was the first time I'd spoken aloud in what felt like an eternity. She looked up startled, her eyes wide and the color of warm honey. I'm fine, thank you, Sir Knight." "Be careful," I managed, my voice rough. "This castle, it's old, things fall." She nodded, clutching a thick volume to her chest. "I will." And then she did something unexpected. She smiled, a small, tentative smile that lit up her face and sent a tremor through my very being. It was a smile not directed at the legend, the Knight of Ethelgard, but at me asterisk, at whoever was hidden beneath the cold steel. That night sleep evaded me. The weight of the armor felt heavier, the silence more profound, the smile, it haunted me. It awakened something deep within me, a yearning for connection, for more. I'd long resigned myself to my fate, to the endless cycle of guarding and observing, but Ilara had shattered that resignation with a single, innocent gesture. Over the next few weeks, our encounters became more frequent, more deliberate. Ilara, seemingly unafraid of the silent night, would often seek me out. She'd tell me about her discoveries in the archives, about ancient prophecies and forgotten histories. She spoke to me as if I were a friend, a confidant, not just a suit of armor. "Do you ever get bored just standing there?" she asked one day, her voice soft. I hesitated. Could I trust her? Could I reveal even a sliver of the truth? I observe," I said finally. "I learn." "But do you feel?" she pressed, her gaze unwavering. The question hung in the air, heavy and fraught with danger. To answer truthfully would be to expose myself, to risk everything. But the pull towards her, the undeniable connection I felt, was too strong to ignore. "Yes," I whispered, the word barely audible. "I feel." Her eyes widened and she took a step closer. "Then tell me, what do you feel?" I couldn't, not yet. Instead, I turned away, the weight of the armor suddenly unbearable. "I cannot," I said, my voice strained. "It is forbidden." Ilara didn't push, but I saw the disappointment in her eyes, the flicker of hurt, and I knew I couldn't keep her at arm's length forever. I had to trust her. I had to tell her the truth. The next evening, I found her in the oldest section of the library, surrounded by stacks of crumbling parchments. The air was thick with the scent of dust and decay. She was poring over a large, leather-bound volume, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Ilara," I said, my voice softer now, more human. She looked up, her eyes alight with anticipation. "Sir Knight." "I need to show you something," I said, "something I should have shown you long ago." I led her away from the library, down a winding staircase to a hidden chamber beneath the castle. It was a place I hadn't visited in centuries, a place where the true story of the Knight of Ethelgard was etched in stone. The chamber was dimly lit by a single torch, its flickering flame casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. In the center of the room stood a stone pedestal, and on the pedestal, a single, tarnished key. "This," I said, pointing to the key, "opens the armor." Her eyes widened. "But why would you show me this?" "Because," I said, my voice resonating with a power I hadn't felt in centuries, "you deserve to know the truth." I stepped towards the pedestal and picked up the key. It felt cold and heavy in my hand. I am not just a knight, I am bound to this armor by an ancient curse. I am destined to be the protector of this castle, this land for eternity. I am not a man, but a vessel, a sacrifice. A curse, but how? Alara was staring at me, completely still. "Centuries ago, when the kingdom was new, I was a prince," I said, and then took a deep breath, ready to confess the truth I held hidden under the steel shell for so long. "I made a deal with a sorceress to protect Ethelgard from war, and by the deal, I am bound to this armor until the spell is broken." Her eyes were shining. "But how can a spell like that be broken?" "I don't know," I said as I reached to insert the key into the lock on my chest plate. "But if it is broken," I paused, "it said I'll be released into the man I truly am." With a deep breath I turned the key and felt the ancient clasp release on the heavy metal chest plate. I felt the weight of it sliding off my chest and heard it drop to the floor with a resonating clang. I saw Alara step back, startled. I pulled off my arm coverings, then my leg and foot coverings, and let each piece drop to the ground. I pulled the helmet from my head and let it drop. I stepped forward, showing myself to her with no metal shell around me to hide within. I was tall, perhaps even taller than the armor had led her to believe, and lean. My hair was long and the color of the deepest night sky. I had piercing blue eyes and a face that had stayed handsome despite being trapped within a gilded cage for centuries. Alara gasped, "You're beautiful." The people of Ethelgard would not have thought so centuries ago. I was cruel, I was unfair, I was not a very good man, and that is why I have paid the price for so long. I stepped closer. "Can you ever forgive me for that?" Her voice caught in her throat. "I don't know." She then looked down at my exposed chest. "What are those?" She reached out to touch the scars covering my chest. "They look like markings." "Alara's," I breathed. "No." What is it?" She looked stricken. My own voice was shaking. "I feel a connection, but it's not from me, it's the armor, the spell, the markings. You're marked." "Marked?" "Fated," I said, stepping forward and wrapping my fingers around her wrist. I looked into her eyes and knew I had found my hope, but there was something else in my vision, a flash of light and then darkness. I dropped to my knees, pain exploding in my skull. I heard a growl, deep and guttural. I looked up through blurry eyes to see Alara change, her bones cracked, her human form splitting and shifting. She was becoming something else, something powerful, something primal. She was becoming a wolf. "You," I choked, "you are a..." Her transformation completed. She stood before me, a magnificent, enormous black wolf, her eyes glowing with an inner fire. I felt the armor shudder, rattle, and then slam shut on my body once more. I was locked inside again, the curse tightening its grip. The key was gone. Alara in her wolf form nudged me gently. A soft, mournful whine escaped her throat. "I'm sorry," I said, the words muffled by the helmet. "I'm so sorry. I thought I could escape this, I thought." I trailed off as the world around me dissolved into darkness. I was trapped again. This time, not just in the armor, but in a waking nightmare. I didn't know how long I had before the true darkness consumed me. And even worse, I could no longer recall who Alara was or what she meant to me.